It was good to get back to work this morning. Had a good walkthrough, very productive meetings, just bouncing around a little bit. Was a lot of information being given and received. I felt like we had a pretty good practice today, high intensity, a long way away from where we need to be on Sunday, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. Very difficult task ahead of us this week. When you look at the record, I would say throw that out the window. This is going to be a football team that's going to be well prepared and coached, and these guys have known to show up each and every Sunday. So when you look at their situation offensively, I know we're talking about the quarterback being in the protocol. When you look at Rudolph as well as Trubisky, they both are more than capable of going out and executing and running this offense. I've had the pleasure of coaching against these guys on several occasions and gotten beat by them. When you look at their mindset and what they try to do offensively, just a lot of like ourselves. Going to establish the run game up front, try to move the pocket a little bit and be able to take their shots down the field. Pretty good receivers in Johnson and Pickens, and I think as you saw last week, Trubisky was able to get the ball deep and over the top at times. Defensively, they got it on every level. Hayward can take over the game at any point in time. He's very dominant, all-pro player. When you look at Miles Jack on one side and then you look at Watt on the other side, very active in the things that they're doing for stopping the run, and then also importantly, creating, getting pressure on the quarterback. And big fan of Fitzpatrick, phenomenal player. And the things that he can do on the back end, they move him around all over the place, plays with great eyes, great anticipation for his breaking on the football, and they have solid special teams. So with that, I'll take your questions.
Good news, obviously, on DJ. How's that help you guys moving forward?
Well, again, it is good news. He was full today. We're going to see exactly how he feels tomorrow from a standpoint of any relapse. But it was great to see him out there running around and executing.
Steve, you challenged your team after the win the other day. Gave them victory Monday and asked them to come back ready to work. What was the response you saw out there from?
I thought the response was great. Again, just high energy, attention to detail. Again, we're far away from where we need to be, but I feel that we're moving in the right direction. So very excited. These guys have definitely shown a great level of maturity and how they respond.
Steve, Alex Highsmith, local kid, having a pretty good year, 10 sacks for the Steelers. What do you see from him on film?
All those guys are active. Larry O, UNC Charlotte product, who I had at Cleveland. They play phenomenal football up front. They create havoc. They move around a lot with their pressures and whatnot. So we got to do a great job, as we always talk about, trying to control the line of scrimmage.
Steve, do you have much in the way of personal background with Tomlin?
I've known Coach Tomlin for a long time. A lot of respect for him just as a person beyond what he's accomplished as a coach, which is, amazing, some of the things that he's done and the consistency in which they operate under up there. So as I'm telling the coaches as well as the players, these guys are going to come in well coached and prepared. So a lot of respect for Mike.
You spent any time with him at any of the combines or anything like
Mike
that?
and I had the same agent for years, so we would, always talk and conversate. So, again, a lot of respect for him.
Steve, you faced stacked boxes when you had Foreman in the game about 67% of the time. Do you anticipate seeing that down the stretch with how you guys have adopted this mindset?
Well, when you put what we do on tape, with which our tendencies of running the football, people are going to try to counter that. So they're going to put 8 in the box. Late in the game, you saw they had the whole line of scrimmage because, in a 4-minute type situation, they're trying to get the ball back. So, yes, we expect that. All right, and we got to be able to, continue to execute up front for our blocks and then be able to take our shots when they're given.
Steve, defensively, does your approach change depending on whether it's Trubisky or Rudolph quarterback?
It's more the scheme. They're going to do pretty much, in my opinion, the same thing that they do. Try to establish the run game, move the pocket a little bit, and then take their shots vertical over the top.
So Pickett apparently practiced some today. I don't know how much, but wondered if you
bumped into him at all your 1 year at Missouri or watched much tape on him?
I haven't. I haven't at all. And again, just a lot of respect for all three of those guys and what they're able to do. So if he doesn't play, I'm sure whether I said it before, Rudolph or Trubisky will be able to operate and run that offense efficiently.
What would you say Pickett's strengths are?
Well, I think he, in my opinion, just watching him operate, I think he has a strong arm. I think he can make every throw. He's made good decisions, being a young quarterback. So I think, he's done some good things early on.
Steve, what are you seeing from Sam right now that maybe was different than what happened last season? How have you saw him improve?
I really don't try to focus on last year. My mindset is just where we are right now. And the one thing I will say about Sam, I love the fact that he's protecting the football. That's always critical and key for our success. So he's doing some good things. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I want him to be able to use his legs and feet a little bit more when the opportunity presents itself. But right now I love the fact that he's protecting the football for us.
Is your perception of him now different than it was in July, August in training camp?
Well, again, to be quite honest, my focus wasn't even on the offense at that time. I had my own concerns, which is really trying to make sure that secondary could be the best they could be.
What do you want to see out of him moving forward to take it to another level? I guess the running is one of those things.
Well, we want to continue to do what we do best, which is run the football, and then from there, just trying to manage and operate the offense. I mentioned earlier, protecting the football, making the right decisions, getting us in the right looks up front from a standpoint of protection. These guys are going to show us all kinds of different pressures. They do a great job with their disguises on the back end, split safety, rotating on the snap of the ball, those kind of things, as I mentioned earlier. So we just got to be smart in how we communicate and get us in the right position.
Steve, Sam's a low-key dude. How has that been beneficial in him sort of accepting this role of I don't want to say game manager, but you're really being sort of careful as to when you're picking your shots to go downfield?
Yeah, and I'm not so much the first initial question about his demeanor. I don't really get into that with players. Be yourself, who you are. This is the reason why you're here. In regards to the other question, as a game manager, I don't consider anything that we do as trying to manage the game. We're trying to put ourselves in the best position to win football games. And however we do that is going to be critical. We talk about being conservative or we don't pass the ball as much. I think the last thing that we want to make sure that we continue to emphasize is just getting that W. And how we get it, whether we throw the ball 40 times or whether we run the ball 35 times, I think that's the key thing.
He's getting a ton of time in the pocket. Why does this pass protection work so well with Sam back there?
Offensive line. Those guys do a great job of really trying to, detail their work. I think Coach Campen does a hell of a job in coaching those guys and really giving them things that they need each and every week. And they have taken ownership, in my opinion, of I challenge those guys each and every week, being the strength of the team.
Steve, how would you describe Mike Tomlin as a coach?
I think he's smart. I think he's highly intelligent. I think his players feed off of him. I think he is well prepared, and his players and his team are well prepared. So again, when you look at his body of work and the things that he's accomplished, at an early age in his career and continue to be consistent, which we all strive for, I think is phenomenal.
This time of year, there are limits on how often you can go in pads. How does that change kind of the mindset of practice for you?
It doesn't. Once you really set the tone and the culture that you're trying to create, once you take them off, it's still that mental capacity that you got to make sure that you continue to live up to. And that's what we did today, and it's always a point of emphasis right now, your weapons, eyes, hands, hips, and feet, still trying to be in position and strain yourself on each and every down.
It's been a while since national media really had high expectations in a positive way for you guys. Do you talk about that with your team and how to either ignore it or take it head on, and just what's your approach on that?
Well, our approach has still been the same, is winning the day. We were able to do something that I talked about that we haven't done before, which is go and win on the road this year. All right, trying to win, 2 back-to-back games. So that was a great accomplishment for us. And, with me, I don't allow myself nor this team to get outside these walls. In other words, we don't listen to the outside noise. Because, again, I believe in, stay focused on being focused. And that's one of the things I talk about with the guys all the time. Just win the next rep. So we will figure out where we are, all right, once we lift our head up at the end and see exactly, if we're able to get to the playoffs, whatever the situation may be. But right now, the most important thing is playing Pittsburgh, and that's it.
Eddie's named Special Teams Player of the Week today. How much conversation did you and Scott have about potentially bringing in kickers after that Atlanta game? And was it something Tabor said that sort of convinced you otherwise?
As I mentioned, during that time, we had no thought about bringing in a kicker. Total confidence in Eddie. We wanted to make sure that we gave him the support that he needed. We put our arms around him. As you can see from that point on, he's been pretty much consistent in the things that we asked him to do. So I'm proud of the way he's bounced back. And like with Eddie and everybody else in that locker room, that's what we're looking for, consistency.
When Henry goes through something that he goes through, it's really serious off the field. Is there a moment that you had with him or have with him on the field when he gets back on the field, or you see him reflect on anything? Is there ever that kind of moment when there's something serious like that?
Well, no, not at this point, because once he was medically cleared to come back, we felt that everything was fine. As we went through the process and making sure that we, checked everything off, our main concern was for him as a person and making sure that we weren't going to, put him in jeopardy of anything long term. So with him being back, he's excited to be back. He wanted to come back long before this time. We wanted to make sure that we did it the right way.
Steve, how has Al changed or improved as a defensive coordinator since the last time you worked as head coach in DC?
Well, I don't want to say how he's changed or improved. I think all of us, each and every day, are improving. If you're not, you're wrong. So we're always trying to find different ways to get better. So I think we just really challenge one another, as a coaching staff, what can we do to put our players in position to be successful, taking the time to, go back and watch more tape, look at different scenarios. You're talking about these different quarterbacks, when they played, if there's any difference in what they do when one is in the game and the other one. So it's just a mere fact of really trying to find that one nugget.
I know you've been asked about Terrace's catch, but Laviska also had a few. Like that one that kind of grazed his fingers. Just what does it say about the effort between those guys, Terrace and Laviska, and how you've seen them progress this year?
I really think since I've been in this position, I've seen a development and growth in that receiver room. Those guys are constantly getting better each and every practice, which shows in the game. So Terrace, I'm proud of the way he stepped up, this year. Laviska continued to just do great things for us in so many different facets. So we just got to continue to find ways to get those guys the football.
Steve, having worked with him so much, especially at the beginning of the year, how have you seen JC progress to where he's making very high-level plays for somebody that missed most of last season?
Well, I think it really starts with just his makeup of who he is as a person. He put a lot of time and effort into his craft. He takes pride in all the details and the things that I talk about all the time, and you can see it in his performance. And he has that background, that DNA, and just that pedigree with his father. So he understands what it takes to be successful at this level and at a high standard. So I love the way he's playing right now. I love the challenge that he puts on himself to go out and perform at a high level each and every week.
That first pick he had the other day, he appeared to kind of come off the guy he was guarding at first. Is that instinct or something particular he had been taught to do in that situation?
A lot of instincts with him, particularly you got to understand it was sprint out. So whenever you get sprint out, they're decreasing pretty much half the field. So you saw the safety pushing over the top. He worked underneath, as you just mentioned, and then fell off into coverage and made a great play.
You mentioned the offensive line has taken it upon them to be the best group on this team. We've been hearing for years about what we want the offensive identity to be the run game, and we never really seen it come to fruition until Sunday against the Seahawks. Now that there seems to be a strong identity, and on 4th and 1, we kind of know what's coming, and that's what you want. You want that moment. What does that do for a team? What does that do for a locker room?
Builds confidence. Builds confidence in those guys up front. It builds confidence in the team that we can run the ball when we want to, but most importantly, when we have to.
Everybody good? Thank you, Coach. Y'all.
Thank you.